It is Fabian Williams with Life Anew, where your new life awaits. I am a marriage and family therapist and licensed professional counselor today with boundaries. And the reason I'm talking about boundaries is because it's the holiday season. And so I want to talk about no being a complete sentence. If you are new or if you have not yet subscribed or whatever, please click that little Life Anew symbol and subscribe because I think I have eight whole followers so far. So they're lonely and they want you to join them. All right, but I want to talk about boundaries because the holiday season is fastly approaching and not approaching, we're in it. We're 5 days from Christmas. My client base, for the most part, has been wrapped around what to do for the holidays, what to do as far as gatherings go, as far as toxic relationships go, as far as dealing with and processing past pain, past hurt. Should I have strict boundaries? Not so strict boundaries. Well, my friend Andy Mineo wrote a song and it's called Not Gonna Do. And I love that song because it is a direct reflection of what it means to set a boundary. I am not going to do this. And you get to decide. The most important thing I can say today is that you have agency in this choice. You get to decide if you're going to do something or not. So, a boundary. I'll go with the who, what, where, when, and why. Who needs boundaries? All of us. We all have our own system of values. We all have our own wants, needs, and desires that we need to be cognizant of, that we need to honor. How about that? We need to not compromise. And when we compromise them, we develop these feelings of sometimes angst or whatever. So flipping back, what is a boundary? A boundary is a limit. It is a rule. It is a guideline. It's a guardrail. It's ways that you want people to talk to you, deal with you, interact with you. It's choices you get to make based upon how people come at you. And you get to make these choices. You don't get to force them on people, but you do get to enforce them. So who, what, where? Where do you need to enforce boundaries? Everywhere you go. You need them in the workplace. You need them at church. You need them at home. You need them with family over the holidays. And then when do you need to do them? As often as necessary, as often as you feel. When do you feel like you need to enforce a boundary or you need to put a boundary in place? Because sometimes people overstep our boundaries because we've never put one in place. Let's clarify that. So when do you know? What kind of gives you the signal that you need to put some boundaries in place? One, you are constantly annoyed by a certain individual or certain situations. You are dreading going to Christmas dinner. You are dreading ending up in a seat beside that individual that you know grates your nerves. There may not have been a boundary set, or they may not be aware of it. And I have to say again, people do not have to honor your boundary, but you do get to enforce them. So if you don't, it's not an ultimatum. This is my boundary. If you don't abide by it, we won't interact. And that's fine. That is your choice. That is your right. And you get to do that. You have agency in that. You are in control of that. Another form of when you need to enforce a boundary is if you find yourself in a burnout situation. I was burnt out at my previous job, my teaching job. I was burnt out. I realized it much too late, but I did have to release that. And I had to set some clear boundaries, like not working for hours after work, where I was going to pull my hair out strand by strand, not volunteering for all of that extra stuff that I really didn't want to do anyway. How about that? How many of us are volunteering for stuff we really don't want to do anyway? We just don't know how to say no. So being a people pleasers, you really need to set boundaries because you get to be a people pleaser. That's your wiring. That's okay. But if the people pleasing is infringing upon your value system, if it's taking precedence over your wants, needs, and desires, you got to reevaluate. What is my boundary here? Okay, I do want to please. I do want to bake everybody's cookies. I'm going to bake 1,000 cookies, but 1,001, yeah, I'm not doing that. And this is what I'm not going to do, right? Come on, Andy Mineo. Um, what else? Ruminating on certain things, ruminating about a certain situation, having a conversation with somebody and then going home. Oh, I should have said. Oh, I wish I'd have told her. Oh my goodness, next time. That rumination, or just constantly it's swirling in your head over and over and over again. You may need to set a boundary with that individual. They are taking up space in your head, and as the kids say, not paying rent. They're living rent free inside my head, inside my mental space. Yeah, we're not going to do that. And when others' demands impose upon yours, I have heard so many people talk about how much they hate going to Christmas dinner, but yet they go because auntie will talk about me, grandma will talk about me, mom will talk about me, uncle will talk about me, blah, 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 blah. All of these talking heads who mean nothing in your screenplay. So what? So they talk about you. You get to set your boundary, and then you get to allow them to fall in where they fit in. Yes, you want to love family. I don't advocate for not going at all, but I do say, okay, instead of 10 hours, let's do 2. Instead of spending the weekend, let's do a day. You know, those things, whatever will honor your boundary system. What, where, when, why. Why? Because they help you and others. Why? They help you and others. They are the ultimate form of respect. They are a way of letting people know. It's a clear expectation. My previous job used to always say clear expectations. Make sure the kids have clear expectations. You can't test them on something you didn't tell them you were going to test them on, which makes sense, right? How can I hold somebody accountable for disrespecting my boundary when I haven't set it? So they give clear expectations of how to interact with me. They allow this to become a healthy relationship and not a one-sided relationship that we begin to dread, right? So check in. How do you begin to enforce? How about even just putting into place boundaries? Checking in with yourself. The first thing we need to get to know is us. Do I feel comfortable with this? Why does this make me cringe? Why does her presence, his presence, make me annoyed immediately? I have allowed this individual into my space without giving them the rules, the guidelines, the guardrails of how to deal with me, of how to interact with me, right? And so then I say, get develop some guidelines. What are some guidelines that would be things that you need, want, desire, and value? For me, I value family. So for me, yes, I want to do an event with my family, but I don't want to be inundated with 100,000 people, very surface relationships. I want intimate with my immediate family. That is a value. Yes, I still value family. People are like, well, you don't even want to go to the big family reunion. You don't want to go. No, I don't want the surface. We're going to see each other one time a year. I want the intimate relationships with those people that I'm extremely close with. And I want to spend extended time with them as long as that doesn't invade upon their boundaries. So think about that. Think about those needs, want, desires, values, all of those things. And then think about which ones are in ink and which ones are in pencil. Which ones are soft boundaries and which ones are really hard boundaries, right? Which ones do you know you want everybody to do? And which ones do you only have for particular individuals? What individuals do you have to cut out? That's a hard boundary sometimes. Sometimes losing people, you have to grieve that loss, but it's a healthy cut. And then after you've developed them and you decided which ones are in ink and which ones are in pencil, begin to test them out. Test them out. Test the soft ones. I advocate for testing the soft one first, especially if you're a people pleaser and you're somebody who struggles to say no. Test out the soft ones first because they're easier to put in place. And that might be, I'm not going to go out past a certain hour. So when your girlfriends ask you to go out, hey, I'm going to go, but I'm leaving at 9 o'clock. I said, that's kind of an easy one. I'm not going to, I don't know. I can't even think of any off the fly, but beginning to develop them, figure out which ones are soft, which ones are not, which ones are your mandatory ones. And then after you've successfully enforced some of the softer boundaries, try a hard one. Try I am no longer going to interact with you if you continue to go to this negative place of gossip. I'm not going to commiserate with you at work. I am happy here. When I get in with you, I start complaining about, and then I find myself being miserable. And I wasn't miserable when I woke up. I got here and I wanted to be, and yeah, I'm going to draw a boundary around that. So again, I am Fabian Williams, marriage and family therapist and licensed professional counselor, and it is the holiday season when I'm taping this. So I hope you have a good time creating and enforcing your boundaries. And if anybody asks you, you can tell them I told you, right? Because this is what we're not going to do. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and if you're seeing this in the summer, just hold it off for December and just remember that I said all of that to you, and have a blessed and beautiful day.